turns out there's a cure for depression. It's called exposing corporate bullshit. And there's been a lot of corporate bullshit flying around the internet today, especially in the very niche miniature wargaming community. Now, of course, I'm talking about one wargame specifically. It's Heroscape. If you don't know what Heroscape is, it's this incredibly accessible wargame that was discontinued about 13 years ago that has been picked up by a company called Renegade Game Studios. Now, I have been very pro Renegade in all of my coverage of this game, as you can see if you look at any of my videos. But this morning, someone on Reddit exposed them for doing some pretty shady shit. Someone posted on the Heroscape subreddit this morning a bit of a leak about the playtesting process. And over the course of the day, multiple people who've been in contact with various playtesters can affirm that this is pretty accurate. So let's just get into what they said. Of course, there's the obligatory, this is a throwaway account, but it really starts with regarding backwards compatibility. The Heroscape units that Renegade is currently developing are backwards compatible as they use the same rule set. Renegade is or was not playtesting with any classic Heroscape, and balancing new units with classic units is not something they care about. Now, this is of course a big faux pas. One of the big benefits of Avalon Hill's campaign was that they wanted to make sure everything was backwards compatible with classic Heroscape. I mean, it just kind of makes sense. It doesn't invalidate anyone's collection. Of course, the inverse also makes sense from a greed standpoint. If all of the old units are now outdated because the new units are so much better, then you're going to buy the new units. But it doesn't really make sense from a sort of, buying goodwill with the community. Of course, this is 2023, where Wizards of the Coast laid off like all of their staff, and who cares about goodwill with the community anymore, right? To be fair, I don't think Renegade ever specifically said that the units would be perfectly backwards compatible and that they would be balanced. But it's not a great look. The second thing they said had to do with Age of Annihilation. Age of Annihilation is kind of what they're calling the relaunch, and it's what Avalon Hill called the relaunch last year during their failed Hasbro campaign. Most, if not all of the designs that Avalon Hill and the AOA War Council worked on have been scrapped or gone through massive redesigns. Now, a quick caveat here, the War Council are actually a group of the community who've been making VC units for like the past 13 years. VC is basically like the official, unofficial customs project. It's kind of how we've kept this game alive over the past 13 years that it's been dead. It's super cool. All the units are freaking sweet. Highly recommend. These guys know their stuff. They've been designing for this game for 13 years. Anyways, where was I? Don't assume that the cards we will see will look like the ones Avalon Hill showed us if Renegade stays on this trajectory. Developing 70 plus units in this period of time is a big ask from an experienced designer, and the new team does not have experienced Heroscape designers. This is also something that just makes zero sense to me, like just from a business standpoint. Avalon Hill basically gifted Renegade a fully finished game that all they had to do was just print. They didn't have to do any work into redesigning, and it doesn't really make any sense why they're doing this. Still though, even though this is kind of a stupid business decision, they can do this. It is not objectively egregious, it's just subjectively egregious. I really like the Age of Annihilation units. I don't know why they're redesigning it. Where it starts to get really egregious is in the playtester selection section. When selecting playtesters, familiarity with Heroscape was not important. Playtesters were selected based on their familiarity with games Lee and Rohan previously worked on. Lee is the head producer of Renegade and Heroscape, and Rohan is the lead designer. Now, this is the one bit that people in the community over the course of the day's discussions couldn't necessarily confirm. Every other point here, though, has been confirmed by people who are on the playtesting team. Now, the next bit is insanely egregious, and just they need to fix this like yesterday. Clashing with playtesters. After playtesters were selected, they were given freedom to construct their own playtesting group. One group contained or invited members who had worked on every major customs project in the Heroscape community: C3V, SOV, C3G, AOTV, NGC. I know those acronyms don't really mean anything to you, but it's a great pedigree. The makeup of this group changed several times. Why? Experienced designers / players jumped in, saw the quality of the designs Renegade had produced, realized their feedback wasn't being received, and left. This group was later dismissed from playtesting entirely and told that their constructive criticism was abusive. Another group had a member or members of the AOA War Council present, but they also jumped ship after their feedback wasn't received. What is even the point of playtesting if you're not going to take any of the negative feedback that your playtesters give? People in the Heroscapers group have been in contact with some of these playtesters, and everyone says that nothing was abusive, it was just constructive criticism. They didn't like the way that the game was going. Apparently that is considered abusive if these allegations are to be believed, which there are a lot of people saying they should be. Finally, there is the design quality. Playtesters I've spoken to have described the in-process designs as troubling, amateur, and garbage. Now, maybe if they were telling the team that the designs were garbage, I could kind of see a abuse case there, but even still, that's kind of egregious. Now, what made this incredibly sketchy is that the Reddit thread that the leak was on was taken down within 2 hours, which is just unbelievably suspect. If they truly had nothing to hide, then they would leave it up and they would be able to tell everyone, hey, this isn't true, but they took it down. Now, I don't actually know who moderates the Heroscape subreddit. I'm guessing it isn't anyone affiliated with Renegade, but even still, if you're taking down discourse like this, that's troubling. Now, I understand there's definitely a line because the discourse got really freaking bad last year and I had to go touch grass and I didn't want to talk about this game anymore because it was so gnarly, but still, these are legitimate complaints, and if you're taking it down, that's sus. In fact, the only reason that you're even seeing this is because I took screenshots of it before it was taken down from Reddit because I had a strange feeling that this would be taken down. I shared it with a couple of people in the SoCal Heroscapers group, and one of them shared it to Facebook where it was almost immediately taken down. And of course, I'm not even trying to talk about it in the Renegade Discord because I would probably get banned. They very much do not want to hear any sort of negative feedback. But then the tables turned. In the Heroscapers Discord, I said that I got the feeling that nobody from Renegade really gave a shit about the game except for maybe Rohan. Then Lee Huff, the head producer, said, I have plenty of them for Heroscape, 100. I left a job I love to work on a game I absolutely adore. Which, goddamn bro, World Star, way to make an entrance. People then asked her, hey, what is your opinion on these allegations? What's going on here? And she didn't even deny anything, but she didn't really say much of anything. The only thing she really said is that it's on their radar and that she's going to escalate it because she cares about being kind. Now, hopefully escalating it will actually change something, but the whole discourse has been weird. Especially the people who've been saying, don't escalate this, don't make a video on this, don't spread it around because it might antagonize Renegade and then they'll do something bad. I don't understand that line of thinking in the slightest. Something like this, it needs to be spread because ultimately, Renegade needs the community. The community doesn't need Renegade. We've been keeping this game alive for 13 years. Yes, some new tiles would be nice, but Source exists. Source is basically a Heroscape ripoff. You could totally back that, get those tiles, and then replace it, use the C3V units. You can keep the game alive. You don't need the company. The company needs the community. And if they're treating the playtesters like this, it makes me incredibly nervous. Now, Renegade is currently on their holiday break, which must be nice, but hopefully Lee's escalating will actually lead to some sort of change because currently what they're doing is unacceptable. At the bare minimum, they need to actually make some serious changes with playtesting. March 1st is 3 months away. That's when they're going to open pre-orders, so the clock is ticking for them to get their shit together. As always, if there's anything new that pops up, I will let you know. If you want to know more about Heroscape, click right here. I do a bunch of videos on them. And thank you so much for watching.